Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, so thanks for coming and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, viewers, this is the Bush Chicken. My name is Batima Successina. Today I have with me Cornelia Kruah-Togbah. She's one of the 12 candidates to contest in the November 20th by-election to represent Montserrado 13th District at the level of the House of Representatives. And she's here to tell us about her reason to contest in this election and some of the things she wish to push as the representative of District 13 when she's elected on November 20th. So good morning once more and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I'm Cornelia Kruah-Togbah. I am 28 years old. I am a mother to an 8-year-old son. I'm a wife of 3 years. I'm a resident of the District 13, Montserrado County, New Georgia Nigerian Shop community. I was born in that community and I grew up there. My family grew up my family lived in that community for a very long time. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from the Stella Maris Polytechnic. I have a certificate in leadership from the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. I have a Master of Arts in International Politics and Economics from the Kingston University in London, UK. I'm currently enrolled at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law. I have worked with the government of Liberia under the regime of Madame Sirleaf. I worked for about 6 years. I began working with the government while at the Angie Brooks International Center for Women's Empowerment as their youth program officer. And then I transitioned to the Ministry of State as program assistant at the President's Delivery Unit. And then the Ministry of Public Works as executive assistant to the Minister of Public Works. And my last job in the government was as Chief of Staff to the Minister of Education right before going to get my master's.
Okay, so District number 13 in Montserrado County became vacant as a result of the elections of Honorable Sir Joseph, the district representative, who also recently won in the by-election to represent Montserrado County at the Senate. And that position too was made vacant following the election of President George Weah, who also previously represented Montserrado at the Senate. So you being among 12 candidates and one of the 4 females.
Three females.
Okay, one of the 3 females contesting the election. Basically tell us your reason for which your quest to contest in these elections.
So just before my reason, I'll just give a background for my consideration in the first place to contest. I've worked in the youth and student community for a very long time, running a couple of student-run organizations and NGOs. And when this vacancy was created, I had just come back from doing my master's. So most of my colleagues that I have worked with in the district and outside nationally, they reached out and told me to consider contesting for this position. And I've always known that I was going to get involved in the public sector. I've always been involved in the public sector since I came into my professional career. But I didn't know that at this early stage I would have gotten into the mainstream politics in Liberia. So once that, I got petition from about 3 to 4 groups of young people that I have worked with asking me to contest. Then I started to consider. And I started to ask myself why, because before you make a decision of such, you have to find your why, because that now will lead you and direct you in everything that you do. So just to give a bit of a historicity of the district which led to my decision, this is a district that has been, since I started knowing myself, from 2005 to 2017, is a district that has been led by the CDC. Although they were not a ruling party at the time, but their representatives, they passed 2 representatives, the Tanapole, the late Tanapole, and Honorable Sir Joseph. The two of them came from the background of this. So you've had one party leading that district for the past 12 years. And for the past 12 years, it is not necessarily a stronghold. What happens is, I'm sure that is the same for most districts around Liberia. At the level of the presidency, people vote on the level of parties. But at the level of representative, is mainly what you have done in your district. How the people can relate to you is based on that. So the Unity Party is the District 30 is actually a Unity Party stronghold. From the 2005 elections up to 2017, the Unity Party tapped in that district for presidency. But for the representative, for example, our first lawmaker, or the most recent one, he was voted on initially because of he had a school. The Jenny school. So people bought into the ideology that if he had a school, he would prioritize education. Whether or not that happened is another debate for another day. And then you had in the 2017, for him to get re-elected, there was the issue of the Ebola virus, as you know, and he played bringing ambulances and helping to transport people to the hospital. So for people, they felt that was a means to give back to him for his service. So the district has always been a district that reward people based on your works in the district or what they believe you can do for the district. So it's not a CDC stronghold. This district also since 2005 has been headed by men. So you've not have even at the level of the district council, you've not had a lot of prominence of women in the district taking leadership position or leading efforts in the district. So these were some things that were my why. And my why was since 2005 to 2017, if you go through the platform of every candidate, it's the same problems and solutions that were listed in 2005. Currently are the same problems, challenges, and solutions that are being listed. What this tells you just on the surface, if you're doing a quick evaluation, is that these issues have not been addressed from 2005. The fact that even in this 2018 elections, these are things that are still cutting across all of them. Even though
was satisfied with the work he did.
Now I told you I gave the historicity, and what I said was his 2017 election, interestingly, his victory didn't come from District 13 per se. This is a claim that you might want to investigate further, but as you know, in Liberia, there is the issue of trucking. So most of the people from West Point, where he did most of his work, they felt this was a way to give back to him for the work that he's done. So they went into the district, they registered there, and they helped to re-elect him as representative for that district. So his victory was not mainly based on the district. In the district, there is nothing that can be shown there as tangibles or as projects or any policy that was implemented by that particular representative in the district. That's something, again, you can do further investigation on.
So coming to this election, there is a platform through which you're campaigning, and that platform has 6 agenda items that include improved infrastructure, creating environment for students to unlock opportunities, amongst others. So let's discuss them item by item. Why you chose these different areas to focus, and how you think the district can be better represented by those items.
Okay, so my overall goal is to create a model district. I feel in Liberia, in District 13, the idea of what representation should be has been misinterpreted. People see representation for them as someone that you should go to the house in the morning if you have a problem for your fees. They should take money from their pockets to pay for your fees. If you don't have food, they should give you a bag of rice. If someone is sick, they should give you money to go to the hospital. For me, I feel that is short-term benefit and is not substantial. So it cannot be sustained. The kind of representation that you should have is one that creates policies and programs in which you do not just give people fish, as we say commonly, but you teach them how to fish.
So that's what
The
you want to do.
environment is provided for them to succeed with not being dependent on you, without being dependent on you as an individual. So in your absence, the district still works. The overall goal is to create a model district, one that other districts can use as an example of what a good working district should be like. The first priority to do that is to ensure that we create a system. We have a district where we have 38 communities, and about 85% of those communities leaders were appointed by the representatives. So you go in a community, you feel that this is the person you're able to work with, you appoint the person. What that does is it reduces accountability. Because if I appointed you, there is no way you can criticize me when I'm not doing the right thing. So then you start to control the way people think, how they speak, how they react to what you do. And that led to that led to the district not being productive, because you didn't have people to ask the why. You didn't have people to say, no, you promised this and you were not able to deliver. So one of the first things we want to do is to create that system and to decentralize power. For me, I believe that in order for you to be a successful leader, you need critics. You need people to criticize you. You need people to keep you on your feet and keep you to making sure that you deliver on what you promise. So we'll ensure that across the district, those that are there are people that are selected by the communities. What that does now, then the community leaders also are accountable to the people, so now they will do their best to ensure that whatever deliverables are supposed to come to the communities get to the community. That's the first priority for me. And if you check the pillars, the different pillars, all of the other things fall into place once you get that right. Once you get that right, the issue of youth empowerment will fall into place, because now you have an institution, you have a district that has a system, and if it's to develop plan, you do it across with input from the people, from the community.
So basically the way you want to do things differently is to ensure accountability.
That is the first step, to ensure accountability and to ensure that there is collective effort of everyone across the district. We have a district that is highly religious. You have a huge Muslim community, you have a huge Christian community. It's also highly tribal. You have the Kisi people, you have the Grebo people, you have the people from Nima County. So all of these people feel that they owe it to their own area or their own group that they find themselves from. So at times, development work becomes difficult. What you need to do is to ensure unity and ensure that they all can work together despite whatever backgrounds they come from. So that is the first priority. The second priority is to ensure self-sufficiency in the district. So you can have all of these nice programs. We want to ensure one of the pillars we have there is to ensure is focused on the young people. There is a pillar there that focuses on creating a learning resource center, where the issues of scholarships will fall under there, where the issue of providing resources for students to study will fall there, where the issue of we have a district where you have little cafes but people have to pay. We do not have a district center, we do not have a district office. So all of these things fall into place once you get the structure and the system in place. The second priority is ensuring sustain.
Got an idea as to how much these activities will cost you.
So that's where the second, that's where my second priority comes in. Okay. So the second priority, as I said, you have all of these programs. It takes resources, it takes finances to implement them. So the second priority is to ensure self-sustainability, self-sufficiency at the level of the district. And we know there are two major sources at the moment for finances in the district. The first is the District Development Fund. Something that was introduced by Madam Sardif during her region to ensure development projects across Liberia. And then you also have the corporate social responsibility. Our district is very rich. We have the cement co, we have the Seti Breader, we have the flour mills, we have a lot of large entities or industrial centers within that particular district. And as you know, they're responsible, they have corporate social responsibilities to the people of that particular district. So these are the two sources. But then we live in a country where there are economic issues. And in order to fund the district development fund, the budget has to be passed. There has to be money available in the budget to be able to finance this. So what we want to do is to create a self-sufficient district. Across our district, we have a lot of petty traders. I think we have the highest number of markets. We have more than 6-7 markets in the district. And what we can do is to create an atmosphere of entrepreneurship. You have money changers, you have the LEC, people selling LEC tokens, you have people doing mobile money, and all of these small trades. What we want to do, one of our major projects that we will want to implement is to create district service centers. And what these service centers will do is that it creates the system, it creates a structured way of doing business where we'll find a means for it to fund the district fund. So if we have two service centers, the way the district is, you have Upper New Georgia and Lower New Georgia. So from the battery factory and iron factory going towards the Jamaica Road, those parts are mainly around Lower New Georgia area. And then from the Chocolate City, New Georgia, the JJY, the St. Marcos supermarket area, that's Upper New Georgia. So we can have two service centers. And what we'll do, we'll get all of those entrepreneurs or business people and put them in those service centers. And we'll have, that's a decision that we'll make as a district, if we have a percentage of the income that goes towards the district fund, by the time you do the conversion over a period of 1 year, you see that you have a substantial amount that can fund that particular district fund and help with all the other projects that we have identified.
So have you planned this because you see it as a need, or it is because people have told you that's what you want?
So it has been both based on consultation. So we've been going to communities and asking what the issues are. And they've listed all of the different issues, the issues of road, the issue of electricity, the issue of education, the issue of drugs and substance abuse, alcohol consumption, increasing alcohol consumption. There are a lot of needs. So you now as a leader, what you need to do is how to manage your scarce resources in order to address a good number of the needs that exist, how to come up with innovative means to ensure that these issues are addressed. That is where your leadership comes in, because the how, most of the time, it has to be coordinated by you who are the leader based on the different feedback you get from your people. And what we want to do in our first 6 months is to hold a district consultation. And the aim of that district consultation will be to come up with a district 5-year strategic plan. I come from the background of NGOs and working in the public sector, so I know the importance of planning. So at the end of that district consultation, we want to come up with a 5-year strategic plan that covers all of these key pillars that will be identified by the stakeholders in the district, and then we'll start to implement them on an annual basis based on priorities. So we'll prioritize our different problems as a district, and as we raise enough funds to implement it, we implement it on an annual basis and transfer ones that have to be transferred. I think that way is a more organized way of doing things. And there is a way that you can do check and balance as well, because you as a person, you have goals that you set and you can ensure that you achieve them. But to just randomly come out with projects in the district like was used, like had been done in the past, I feel that's the wrong way of representation that does not yield any valuable impact for the district.
Talking about establishing service center for business purposes, many times when funding from government are given to private citizens, and people see this as a government thing. So if your wife or everybody belongs to nobody, so accountability becomes a problem.
No,
so how do you cut out people?
Yes, so we're not
into the business, and how do you think
we're not going to get money from outside to give to people to do business? I believe that we should first straighten what you have on ground. So use the available resources, work around it, institutionalize it, and then you expand it. So when I was talking, I talked about assisting business people already and how to just put them in a institutionalized way or under the umbrella of a service center. So you already have money changers. You already have people involved in mobile money. You already have people involved in selling tokens. It's just to provide the environment for the businesses to flourish, and the environment in which you can monitor them and help them build their businesses. Some people have been money changers for...
In addition to creating jobs and raising funds for the digital that, well, it's also there will be the district funds. So how do ordinary citizens or in majority the district benefit? How different will these businesses be from other existing businesses? Will it be cheaper?
No. So what happens is that it increases investments. As you know, even in the loan, we have a lot of loan in Liberia. We have the informal loan scheme where you have the clubs and you have the susus. Those are informal loan schemes. Most of the times these programs die amongst the women. It's popular amongst the women. It died because of the lack of funding. And the reason there is a lack of funding because there is no structured way of doing business with them. So no bank will want to give loan to an individual that sits at her house and identifies people and just loans money. And in the end, there is no returns on it. A bank will want to invest in a structured way. So if we have a service center, and part of the service center is a loan scheme where you have people giving loan, and there are policies in place, you come up with policies through which who do you give loan to? How do you collect the loan? If we're talking about reducing the percentage of interest that will be on the loan, how do we do it where you still make profit? Still make profit, but you're not exploiting the situation because it is money that was provided through the instrumentality of the district leadership. So those are all ways that we want to do it, but working with existing structures. And once we perfect it, they have something they call the pilot project. I'm sure you know in program areas most of the time. So you use the existing structure, you pilot it. Once you get it right, you piloting it because you want to get it right. This is something that is new for the district. So you want to get it right. Once you get it right, then you start to expand it and empower more people.
So talking about existing structures, I see that under the platform, you want to increase access to education, healthcare, and other area of service provision. But where you have these existing structures also, there are schools, there are clinics, health centers, and currently you have free tuition for undergraduate for public institutions. So
how do you do that?
Yeah, how do you do that when these structures, these policies are already existing?
Okay.
And central government is already taking care of?
Okay. So in the district, we only have one public school, the Gabriel Pole Memorial High School. That's the only public school we have in the district. We have a district that has more than 80 schools, private schools, church schools, community schools. And these schools, the first thing we want to do is not to build more schools, because we feel there are a lot of schools. We have 80 schools, but are these schools functioning? That's a problem that is not only unique to our district. It's a Liberian problem. Government school, private schools, besides the schools that are for the churches, like maybe the Catholic schools, the Methodist, those ones they get support. So their education or their environment is a bit better than a community school, for example, or someone just comes and says they want to build a school. Most of these schools are not registered with the Ministry of Education. I worked at the Ministry of Education for about 2 years as chief of staff to the minister, and I know that every school in Liberia is supposed to be registered under and accredited by the Ministry of Education. A good number of our schools in the district have not accredited. What that does is that what get from the government, you cannot advocate for it,
and
because as
also impede proper regulation.
Exactly. So in that particular field, what we want to do is to ensure that all of our schools are registered and they meet the requirements. So we as a district will ensure that the facilities that they need, if they need chairs, if they need blackboards, that's where the district fund comes in to help to fund these things and ensure that they all meet the requirement, because you cannot let sympathy to exceed your interest. We want as many schools and for people to go to school as many schools as possible, but we want to ensure that they have quality education. We want to have a district where if you announce it WIAC result, they say from Jimmy Jorokon, from Simako, from the Jenny School and all these other schools in the district, the students from there tap WIAC, then you know that you're making progress in the education sector. And one of the things that we can do to support most of these faith-based schools is that there is the issue of the subsidies. The government gives subsidies, and subsidies, interestingly, is not decided by the Ministry of Education. So that's one thing that my former boss fought a lot. The fact that the Ministry of Education is the regulatory body, but they do not determine who to give subsidies to. Subsidies are determined by the legislature. So what you see happening is that you have legislators that have schools will prioritize making sure that the schools get subsidies, and it doesn't cut across. So one of the interventions that we can make is to identify these schools that have the challenge to create an environment, but they have the passion to provide education for our people, and advocate for subsidies to be provided to these schools to strengthen them. Once we strengthen these schools, we know now that if you're providing scholarship for students to go to school, they're not just going to school, but they're going to get quality education.
Sometimes lawmakers want to establish their own schools to provide free education.
No, I don't think that's the responsibility of a lawmaker. Even if you're saying you want to provide free education, it's not just to build a school. What's wrong with the existing infrastructures? I just spoke of a district that has about 80 schools. So why would a lawmaker want to provide free education, build a new school to provide free education, where the fundings from there can help provide subsidies for these schools and reduce the price? So if we're making laws or we're making intervention, it should be intervention that does not focus on only a handful of people, but that will make an impact across the district. So if subsidies are provided for these schools, you will see now that they will reduce their school fees, which is one of the concerns of most of the residents of the district. So fees are very high. They don't have money, so they need scholarship for the children to go to school. How much scholarship can you provide for a district that have more than 38,000 people there and children that are supposed to go to school? But if you provide subsidies for these schools, you'll see that there will be a reduction in the prices of school fees or in the school fees. And then you empower the older people to do job, as we talk about the service center or other entrepreneur interventions that we will do. You empower them that they can even pay whatever little amount for school fee for their children. So you see, you address the issue holistically, and you're not just focusing on a handful of people that will have short-run impact instead of having long-run impact.
Sometimes you have problem into implementation because oversight responsibility are being put in the form, and probably that's why you see some of those policies like to affect schools, the free primary education policy and what have you. Sometimes they are made on paper, because lawmakers who are caught with that responsibility to have proper oversight, the responsibility, are not doing such. Is that something you want to do?
With all due respect to our honorable people there, it is an open secret that you have people that became lawmakers without any prior experience. You have people that did not have any prior leadership experience. They did not have any network, so they went into the house before they started to ask questions to find out where to even start. Before you even understand how government should work, how you can effect change, how you can network, how you can lobby, you'll be going 3 years into your term already. So you cannot make any meaningful impact because you use half of that time trying to understand what exactly you're supposed to do. But I am somebody that already comes with the experience. I already come with the know.
So talking about experience, if you are successful in this election, will mark your first entry into the legislature. So what legislative experience do you bring to the table?
So that comes with education. That comes with experience working with the legislature. So in all of my different work in the public sector, I had to work with legislative committees. So at the Ministry of Public Works, we had the committee on public works that we had to work with. So you get to see some of their different workings. You get to see some of their different policies. You get to attend some of their meetings when they're accompanying your boss. You have the Ministry of Education as well, that we had to work with lawmakers in ensuring that educational policies were done right, to ensure that certain policies were enacted. So I've had, although I had experience being a legislature, but I've had exposure to what they're supposed to do. And to have added advantage, that was one of the reasons why when I made this decision to contest, I decided to enroll at the law school. Because what it does is that it gives me more understanding. So whatever I do, I come from an informed background where I understand what the laws of the land is. I understand how the laws will impact the ordinary citizens, and I understand the issue of how to write bills, to put bills on the floor, how to lobby, and all those kinds of things. So the experience will come from the background of education and third-party experience, so to speak, and then we'll have an opportunity in the legislature to actually put it to work. Particular position or political office, you have other women voting for her and supporting her because they believe that women can be leaders and women deserve to serve in political offices as well. So that takes it from the it takes it from the ground root, from the ground up. So it's like a trickle, it goes up in the chain, where you have more women that believe in other women, that believe in themselves, and are willing to initiate change in that particular aspect of ensuring women empowerment and women political participation. So that's what it did.
What do you think with the views that more space, more will should be provided for women to be elected into political positions? As one also says that the field is open, women can contest with men.
So it's the issue. It's the issue of the quota.
They require no preferential treatment.
Yeah. So it's the issue of the quota. I have a quote. I have a saying that I prefer that the quota be exceeded than legislated. I do not believe.
What does that suggest?
That means that for me, I believe that even the 30% is small. We should not limit ourselves to having a specific percentage in the legislature. Women should support each other. Women should prepare themselves and take up the challenge. They should go for positions. They should make impacts in their communities. They should sell themselves, and they should get elected into positions. I also agree too with other people from the other side of the argument that would say, yes, we agree, it shouldn't be out of sympathy. Women should not be provided a specific amount, but this needs to be done as a beginning, so as a stepping stone. So if you tell me as a stepping stone now, what I will agree with is the terming of the particular law or the bill. The bill should not say 30% women's representation. It should say 30% any gender, because there is a possibility that women will come and they will outnumber the men in the legislature. So if we're saying that there should be 30%, the 30% should apply to both women and men, that in the future when more women are standing up and running for positions and winning, then we should say just how the 30% were provided, that there should not be less than 30% women. It should be provided that there should not be less than 30% men. So it should be done on a gender balance way, and the language should be gender balance. It should not only favor women, because I do not believe we should be handed this position, because what it does is that it dilutes your importance or your prominence in the legislature. If a man should look at me and feel that the only reason I'm in the legislature is because I was provided 30% and they had to fill it, then that defeats me as a person. I think women should fight, and if there should be any quota, it should cut across for men and women, that in the event that there are more women in the legislature, we should ensure that at least 30%, that will happen. We should ensure that there should be at least 30% men in the legislature, so that there is a balance in gender, and ensuring that policies will affect both genders in the House.
Do you think we'll have less women in government, represented in government, because more women have not come into the force to challenge the American counterparts?
In the legislature, I would say yes. In the executive, I would say no, because the executive is based on the president's decision. And interestingly, our president just announced that he's the chief feminist in Liberia. So we're hoping now that we'll start to see change. We'll start to see that he will employ more women, not just to assistant minister position, not just ensuring that the entire Ministry of Gender is all females. That defeats the purpose. If you must keep a specific ministry, say because it's Ministry of Gender, gender does not only limit to women. It cuts across. It's both sex. So it shouldn't be because it's Ministry of Gender. All the women I want to employ in my government should go to Ministry of Gender because I'm Ministry of Gender. We want
Is that
women.
the case?
You currently have only 2 women ministers. You have the Minister of Gender and you have the Minister of Health. So we want to see more responsibilities provided to women. We want to see more opportunities
Is that
in the
something
executive.
you want to work with the female legislative caucus to push, wherein there can be dialogue with the executive, so that the president sees reasons, not just focusing but women fighting to get in leadership positions, but the president himself, as a chief of feminists, to
That is definitely something that the Women's Legislative Caucus can look into. As I said, that pronouncement was just made. I don't think it has been 2 weeks since he made that pronouncement. So I am hoping that that is something now that the Women's Legislative Caucus have on their radar or have on their plate to discuss with him. And when we get there, as representatives as well and a member of the Women's Legislative Caucus, will ensure that we raise that to their attention and champion it, because you need someone to champion that. And I believe if the president said this in all good faith, he will definitely listen to recommendations to have more women represented, because you have qualified Liberian women. So more women represented at the executive as well.
So that now leads me to the area of representation. There are instruments currently before the legislature. For instance, the Domestic Violence Act and other women-driven instruments. So, what is your view about having them passed?
So those bills will most likely not be passed, and the reason is simple. Because by the time the bill comes on the floor for hearing, somebody else raises a motion and says that the bill should be postponed or it should be trashed. And then they and then they pass that, they put that motion on the floor. All in favor say yes. Obviously, there are more men, so you will see more men voting, because they see that, for them, I think they see this as a battle between male and female. It might be a language issue. It might be an understanding issue, that they don't understand the content of the bill. It might just be the fact that in Liberia, we've always had a system that is male dominated, and they want to keep it that way.
So do you have a different view as to what needs to be done?
I think we just need for more men to be collaborative. We also need to have a dialogue on what the actual issue is. If the issue is on the wordings of those particular laws or bills, we should go back and see how we redo it in a way that we still serve our purpose, but it doesn't seem as a threat to the other guys, because you want their votes. You want it to be passed. This has to be a gradual process. Maybe if the main issue of contentions are removed in the initial stage and let it be passed, now it's a law, you can always rectify the laws. And then we'll fight now, but this is a plot that I will be exposing to the public that I shouldn't be doing. But now, once you get that there as a law and it's just the issue of amending it, then you start to fight to get more women in the house. And once you have a majority of women block, or he or she's in the house, then you can go back for amendment and see how you can add other aspects that were not passed. That is the way that we should go about it.
Liberia is among the world's poorest countries, and our budget envelope is relatively small. We have a population of majority poor people, but yet we see that salaries, particularly of lawmakers, are very high. Will you push a pay cut or a salary cut?
Yeah. But then pushing it is one thing and getting it actually passed is another thing. So whether I will focus my attention and time on pushing for that, or bill, or an effort that will continuously meet resistance, or whether I will find other ways that we can augment our people and lift them from poverty, those are things that we have to look at. Because it's good to get involved in fights and get involved in advocacy, but the ones that you will continue to meet dead ends, then you have to look at other ways that you can find solutions to that problems that will still meet the same ends, but then it would not meet as much resistance as that one would reach. So we have people in the legislature that definitely will not vote for reducing or vote for pay cuts. So you now taking all of your time to only be advocating and lobbying for that. Every time you go, people vote, they can say that's waste of time. So you have to look at other avenues through which you can relieve your people of poverty, and that will lift them to an appreciable level.
For reported 16 billion that said to be missing. Again, you've been following the development.
Yeah.
So what is your view?
For me, that is one of the reasons why you need a stronger opposition bloc. The legislature should take this issue very serious, and they are not. And we have a country, Liberia, where things are only hot in the news for the first 1 week. After that 1 week, by the time new development comes out, everybody will forget the old one and rush on to the next one. By the time another thing comes out, so people commit crimes, people do things to the state, and they go unpunished because we do not focus on a particular issue and get it over with. I think there needs to be an investigation. Now I hear the ruling party boasting of an investigation being conducted, an investigation that they did not asked for. It was after the protest and the petition. Now that we have our investigation that should be going on.
The government had long call for this.
Nobody did. No, it was after the protest and everything. Initially, they did their own internal investigation. Those that are accused were those that went and conducted an investigation. I don't think much seriousness is being placed to the particular issue of the 16 billion. And like every other issue in Liberia, they're just going to continue to distract people until it gets swept under the carpet. So you need a legislature that will request and ensure that an investigation is conducted. But then you have a legislature where the Speaker of the House was on record the last time for saying that the legislature cannot be investigated, and they will not avail themselves for any investigation.
But he said was being misconstrued by the media.
No, he changed his version of it after he had criticisms from the public.
Okay. So anything you want us to talk about, or you want to talk about?
There is only one thing, and that is the people of District 13 deserve better. The people of District 13 deserve better, and I think the only way they can get that is for them to make a decision to vote for someone that has an agenda that will transform the life of people. It shouldn't just be based on popularity. It has been based on popularity since 2015 to 2017. When I say popularity, I mean popularity of a particular political party, because the party's popularity will come and add on to whatever the person did in the district to give the person a win. It shouldn't be a party now that has seen this as an opportunity to exploit the people. So if the people, because the people have love for this party, and anything you tell them will be law and gospel, you go around and select people that do not represent the best interests of the people, only because you know that you have the authority over those people. The people of District 13 have to ensure that they make decisions that affect them, and not just decisions because they are told to do so. Because in the end, the representation at the district is the one that impacts your individual life, and the representation at the national level, although it impacts your individual life, but there are 15 counties that the national government has to focus on. So your representation is your liaison between the national government through the executive to the people. So they should do this right, they should vote right, and they should ensure that they vote somebody that has the best interest of the people. I'm not asking them to vote me based on sympathy, because I am a woman. I am asking them to vote me based on the fact that they believe in my platform and they believe that I can deliver for the District 13. So thank you for having me here today. It was a pleasant conversation, and we look forward to working together as we go along.
And so that's how we come to the end. We are doing a special interview with Cornelia Kruah-Togbah. She's one of the 12 candidates that we are on the ballot paper for November 20th to represent Montserrado's 13th district. And so my name is Akima Successina, and it has been a pleasure. So thanks so much. And
thank you for having me.